Hello, I'm Jonathan Mason, and this is the last of the videos in this program. It is an important video as we now come out of ketosis and establish what your insulin resistant level is and how we can maintain the healthy lifestyle that we have begun. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I must make this disclaimer, and I'll see you after that. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle and your insulin resistance level. Wow, what a journey we've been on, and it's not over yet, but the end is in sight. So be vigilant and persevere. Now, in this session, I'll be talking about establishing how much you should eat, the important measures to watch, coming out of ketosis, maintaining your blood glucose levels and your ideal weight, food intolerances, establishing an easy ongoing maintenance plan. Now, this is the final and most important phase of this program, and it's ongoing. Before we can consider coming out of ketosis, we must establish a baseline of how much we eat so that when we do come out of ketosis, we don't just put all that weight back on. As a type 2 diabetic, I had lost the ability to know when I was hungry, and the tendency to overeat was an ongoing temptation. I acquired some psychological triggers that would cause me to eat. Now, this happened over a number of years. So for me, when I got depressed or anxious or bored or just wanted to celebrate, I would straight away begin to eat something. Now, sometimes these triggers were so strong that I actually felt physically hungry. But of course I wasn't. So the big problem for me was to know when I was satiated. This is where I fell back onto the logic of the calorie counting diet. Now, see my video on diets and diabetes. I'll leave the link in the description box below. Now, this logic says when we burn X amount of calories per day and only consume X amount of calories per day, then we will maintain a constant weight. This became even more apparent when I reached my goal weight. I'll give you the basic formula for calculating the approximate calorie intake that you might need to consume. This is not an exact formula, but it is a beginning point, and then you can monitor your weight versus your calorie intake from there to establish a more precise and personal figure for yourself. Now, I can't give you an exact figure, as your energy needs is governed by your activity, your body type, and your metabolic rate. But this basic sort of guideline figure should give you a ballpark figure of the range that you should be in. Understanding what calories are might assist you in seeing how they fit into your diet. Now, calories are an energy that is produced by the foods we eat. Now, food comes in three forms. It comes in as fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, each of which has calories. Now, just as a basic sort of guide, 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates also equals 4 calories, but 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So establishing how many calories we should be eating now that we are down to ideal weight will help us maintain that weight, and when we come out of ketosis, by increasing the number of carbohydrates which also have calories in them. So the first step is establishing how many calories you are consuming which are maintaining your weight. To do this, all we have to do is weigh our food and calculate the calories and then add them up. Now, Google has a lot of information that's freely available. All you have to do is type in the food type and ask for the calorie value per 100 grams. Then you calculate the calorie value for that weight and that you have. Do this for all your food and then just add them up. Now, it is important to do it for all your food, as every little bit helps get an accurate figure. So if you look at the graphic next to me, the area of the circle represents the total calorie intake per day. It is made up of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. At the moment, your carbohydrate intake is very small. There are two important measures that we have to concern ourselves with in order to maintain our newfound health. Now, these two figures are the blood glucose levels, and these are controlled by the number of carbohydrates that you consume. The other is the total calories that you consume per day which affects your weight. So when you increase your carbohydrates, there are two things to watch for. You watch for your blood glucose levels to see whether they increase or not. If they increase, then you will have reached your maximum carbohydrate level. You will watch your weight. And if that increases and your blood glucose levels do not, then you will have to reduce the intake of the foods other than your carbohydrates. At this point, you may be asking, why do I need to come out of ketosis? As I have demonstrated in my other videos, you are safe in ketosis, but you will have to supplement quite a lot. By coming out of ketosis, you'll be able to get a lot more phytonutrients, that is nutrients from plants, which are essential for our bodies. It is a way of eating a much more balanced diet. And the greater the opportunity that we give our bodies to function normally, the greater opportunity is for our body's health to be maintained. In this phase, we come out of ketosis and set your carbohydrate level to a level that is suited to your personal insulin resistance level. Now, you maintain this level by working out the maximum amount of carbohydrates that you can consume without raising your insulin level to above the acceptable level. Now, if you've been doing your exercises, like I recommended in my exercise video in the critical turning point exercise, I will leave the link in the description box below, then these exercises will certainly help you in this phase as it affects our metabolic rate. You will start this phase when you are at your ideal weight. It is always best to stay in ketosis until you are at your weight, as that is when your body has the best chance of an increased metabolism and thus be able to best consume carbohydrates. Being overweight suppresses your metabolic rate and makes you more insulin resistant. But note that you must always keep your medical diary as explained in earlier videos. It is very important at this stage. Now, when you come out of ketosis, you will be increasing your carbohydrate intake very slowly. Now, I would suggest not doing it by more than 5 carbohydrates per day. Then hold this level for a week and see how it affects you. Note that you will be monitoring both your weight and, more importantly, your blood glucose levels. You will know that your fats and proteins that you consume supplies most of your energy needs. So if you are still losing weight and your blood glucose readings go too high, then you should reduce your carbohydrates to the previous level and increase your protein and fat intake, as this will help your weight loss, or halt your weight loss, and then you will know what your maximum carbohydrate intake should be. You will continue to increase the carbohydrates until you reach a maximum. This being established by your blood glucose levels, not going too high. But if your weight was stable before you began to increase your carbohydrates, you might have to decrease your proteins and fats to offset the increased calories added by the carbohydrates. This will ensure that your weight does not increase. This is an important figure that will mark the maximum amount of carbohydrates that you should consume. It is important that you monitor your blood glucose levels in conjunction with monitoring your weight. As you monitor your blood glucose levels, ensure that they stay within the safe range. I have given you the parameters that your blood glucose levels should be in previous videos, along with the conversion formula from mmol to mgdl. If your levels show a drastic increase, then go back to the step before, as this is the maximum level of carbohydrates that your system can cope with. This is where your exercise regime really comes into its own. Exercise helps your metabolism and helps you achieve a much more flexible carbohydrate level. It is important that if you are type 2 diabetic, to maintain your medical diary so that you can monitor your disease, as this diet does not cure you regardless of how much it has reversed your type 2 diabetes. It just manages it. But the frequency of measurement can be drastically reduced. As we get older, our metabolism slows down, and so does our need for energy. This in turn means that we should reduce our intake of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Now this is measured in 2 ways. Firstly, if our blood glucose levels begin to rise. and secondly, if we begin to gain weight. Now, if our blood glucose levels rise, then we may need to reduce the amount of carbohydrates that we are consuming. Now, I would recommend that you reduce them by 5 carbohydrates a day for a week and then see what effect this has. Continue doing so until your blood glucose levels go back into the acceptable range. Now, if it is only your weight that has increased, then reduce your proteins and fats and check your weight again in a week's time. It is important to realize that the blood glucose levels, or both the blood glucose levels and the weight, do fluctuate. But this would be something that's outside the normal fluctuations. So in the eventuality of you gaining weight and increase in your blood glucose levels, then adjust your diet using your proteins, fats and your carbohydrate level to restore the balance. This is why it is essential to understand the role that carbohydrates play in type 2 diabetes. If you haven't seen my video on understanding diabetes, the link is in the description box below. Let us talk about food addictions and food intolerances. Now, this is a very important topic. Being in ketosis probably means that you've cut out most of your foods that we eat and have opted for foods that have low carbohydrates and a low glycemic index number. Now, if you're still suffering from things like a stuffy nose or some other ailment, it might be a good idea to change the mix of your food types. If this is the case, then do it one food at a time and see what effect it has on you. Now, you will normally find that these foods are the ones that you think you cannot do without. In my case, it was milk. I thought I was being healthy. I was drinking unpasteurized milk from grass-fed cows. I thought I couldn't go wrong. Some people live on milk and live good, healthy lives. But you see, I had an addiction to milk. I didn't know it at the time, but I reasoned I love milk. Why should I do without it? It's healthy for me. But the benefits I gained when I gave it up were enormous. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody give up milk. That was my particular addiction, and even though I didn't know it, it was giving me a whole lot of medical problems that I would never have associated with milk. You see, when you're addicted to something, it makes you feel better when you have it. But it has a whole host of side effects that do have an effect on you and your body. Now, just take a person that is addicted to drugs. The drug gives them a short-term benefit, but has long-term effects are very detrimental. The same is true when you're addicted to food. So when you give up the food, your body will rebel against it, and it'll make you feel bad, making you believe that you need that type of food. But if you persist for a few weeks, then the withdrawal symptoms will disappear, and so will the associated medical problems. More illness is caused by foods that we eat than all the other things combined. So my suggestion is that if your health is good at the end of ketosis and your weight is down, then as you begin the process of adding more carbohydrates to your diet, you begin by adding different foods. Keep that food type for a week and see how it affects you. Keep doing this and you will add a great variety of foods to your cornucopia of foods that you can eat. Now, if any food does not agree with you, then cut it out and put it on the foods list of things you cannot eat. When you get to the stage of being happy with the selected foods that you can eat, then it's time to make up recipes and daily meal plans that'll keep you in your carbohydrate range. Now, this will make it easy to manage, and it'll keep your carbohydrate count in the level of what your insulin-resistant body can handle. By creating daily meal plans means that you won't have to count the carbohydrates every day, as you would have already counted the carbohydrates on your meal plan. Now, if you vary from this, then you must recount your carbohydrates. If you find changes in your blood glucose readings and or your weight goes up, then consult with your carbohydrate count and see if you need to reduce them, or if you've inadvertently let the carbohydrate count increase. But as a footnote, always stick with eating healthy foods. Now, see my video on healthy eating crash course for type 2 diabetics. I'll leave the link in the description box below. Now, some people have food intolerances have up to 20 different food intolerances. The problems associated with them have been varied and range from something as simple as a stuffy nose or a stomach ache to asthma and hyperactivity. Remember that most illnesses come from the foods we eat. So there is no better time than now to be aware of the foods that you're eating and what effects they are having on you. This is the time to build up a solid foundation of your personalized diet that will ensure that you are healthy and well for the rest of your life. Your doctor is a very valuable person in the management of your type 2 diabetes. They do a number of tests that check your nervous system, your eyes, to the protein levels in your blood, your cholesterol levels, and your average blood glucose levels. So having a diabetic checkup on a regular basis is important. So don't try to do everything by yourself. This marks the end of my program. It is a program that was built around how I reversed my own type 2 diabetes. I was on the brink of losing my memory. Now I'm a very healthy person with abundant energy and a great enthusiasm for life. Something I never thought that was possible after I'd had type 2 diabetes for 9 years and was on a rapid spiral downwards. My hope is that this program will benefit you as it has me, that it'll give you the energy to realize your dreams and ambitions. If you have made it all the way through the program, I applaud you and I congratulate you. I know it was not easy, but you have fought and overcome one of the biggest medical challenges in today's world. You have gained a deeper understanding of how your disease works and have equipped yourself with all the tools that you need to maintain your health in the future. If you would like to help me reverse type 2 diabetes around the world, then please like, subscribe and share these videos. But if you would like to get more involved in helping me to spread the word in a more direct way, then please go to my website where you can find the program's mission statement along with a complete set of videos and a whole lot of other helpful aids that a type 2 diabetic could need. It is also a place where I hope to build a supportive community environment. Now, I would like to thank anyone in advance who graciously donates to the cause and shares these videos. It is this support that enables this information to reach more people and to change lives. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.